Through dignity of collective risk, I ask our primary care environment to hold space for all of our current privileges, be they tacit, presumed, or overtly present. When these privileges are spoken of openly, the dynamic vulnerabilities associated with them become potential foundations for mutual compromise. I dream of a time where privilege is used as a foundation for inclusion in my primary care environment, rather than part of a convenient bias for excluding me from my primary care environment. Privilege affords me an opportunity to learn through others' vulnerabilities. When I choose to ignore their vulnerable sacrifice, my honor becomes an entitlement. My sense of entitlement becomes a self-fulfilling power, imputing vulnerability through my preoccupation with hosting my own desires. I contribute to their needless alienation. With effort supported by our primary care environment, I know I can do better. I dream that I belong. Those mutually safe ways are finally understood and reciprocally validated. Our environmental boundaries can be crossed without mutual pain, suffering, or trauma. To avoid becoming entrapped by my own privileges, my self-stewardship encourages the use of creative ways to explore and respectfully identify mutual boundaries. Why are my current primary healthcare encounters always promoting my meek existence, when hospitality encourages me to dream of a state of relationship in my primary healthcare, where consent is mutually reciprocal, genuine, and rooted in equitable, environmental, and social contractual obligations? Why does the invisibly disabled person often leave primary care encounters feeling, as I so often do, exploited, humiliated, and alienated? I dream of things being different through environmentally neutral interaction, where the mutuality of free will is genuine. Relational autonomy is actively practiced through leadership by dignity of collective risk. An invitation is offered to collaboratively explore a taboo, oftentimes the solemnness of which even my choice representative ignores. When I am lucky enough to have such support, I realize my primary healthcare team still lacks the inclusive compromise I vainly seek. I now realize my inclusive primary care team needs to be supported by a thought consultant who, along with my choice representative, can support my inclusionary consensus and privilege my environment to help us reach mutual, sensory, environmental informed consent for my primary care provider's therapeutic touch. The privileges afforded me in my role as a care partner for invisibly disabled persons tells me that inclusion of a wide range of ability means that by a prior written agreement reached by consensus, specific participatory steps support best practices, together with mutually agreed upon personal protective equipment, all shall create an inclusive, aseptic primary care environment. I experience mutually reciprocal inclusion in my care as we have sufficiently structured sequential interactions to critically evaluate how I am processing and communicating information at the moment, using both mutually participatory dialogic care as well as narrative care with suitable engaged distraction. This sequence of steps laid out in writing in the document that was the outcome of the consensus process we engaged in good faith before we started the process of mutual sensory environmental informed consent for my care, permits both I and my primary healthcare provider authentically and accurately to mutually consent to the care for which I have booked the appointment in question. For the most authentic social contract to be created, dignity of collective risk invites the patient to lead predefined sequences in their entirety. When this is not possible for reasons of perceptual or physical ability, declarative language invites the mutually meaningful participatory initiation of these sequences. Anything less must be viewed as a traumatic event. Dereliction of the mutual sensory environmental informed consent process triggers my anxiety that malpractice might affect me. At the very least, I will endure too much duress and coercion for me to trust all those involved again after surviving my experience. In the future, I will endanger my life by not seeking similar care. It will become too late. I may die as a result. My dream of privileged hospitality tells me I must advocate for a more inclusive outcome. As my mutual participatory language develops and evolves during repeated interactions in my primary healthcare environment, we become comfortable with the ways our environment cares for me, the ways I depend on it to allow my dignity of collective risk to lead us through understanding my functional communications abilities at this moment, when I am overwhelmed, supported by my healthcare provider's narrated therapeutic touch, a meaningful, equitable participant in my primary healthcare interactions. I feel I am an equal participant in the reciprocity I seek to improve my quality of life. Mutual sensory environmental informed consent for my care actually results in me being cared for, not being cared about, or having care directed toward part of me. I am reassured that my dignity of collective risk will actively support me